What's up, everybody? We're going live for a little bit of post Alan the Whiskey Friend live stream. Let me just make sure our good friend Whiskey Throttle has got a link. And it has been sent. All right, we're here. Where the hell is Whiskey Throttle? I just sent him the link. I'm assuming he's going to join us shortly. Hey, Peter White, how's it going? We're doing a little post live stream. Post Whiskey Friend Alan's stream, which was going on for quite a little bit of time there. I am just waiting to hear back from Whiskey Throttle, and we will be live again relatively shortly. I got to figure out where he's at. In the meantime, what's up, everybody? I've been working my way through a whole bunch of samples tonight, mostly because, as folks know, I'm moving, and so I've been doing a bunch of these damn samples that have been piling up for some freaking time. And it's a good idea to have a few of these. Whiskey Lovers Society was a fun chat. Yeah, indeed. Good to see you here, man. We got Peter White. We got Gary K. We got James Morgan. It is Monday. Our guest of honor, the Whiskey Throttle, should be here relatively shortly, I'm thinking. I did just send him a link. We were just hanging out with Alan, the Whiskey Friend, doing a little live chat on his channel, which is always a damn good time. Let me just give me just a second, y'all. I'm going to make sure that I get Whiskey Throttle his link in case, on the off chance, our old friend did not get it. I'm going to make sure that he does. Tony, Paul M., who I just met tonight. What's up, Paul? Thanks for swinging in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got Peter White. We got James. We got Whiskey Lovers Society. We got Gary. We got Tony, King of Prussia. What's good, Tony? How are you, man? Whiskey Throttle and I are going to be just doing a little bit of live stream after our show tonight. We were just hanging out with Alan, the Whiskey Friend, for a bit, and we just threw this together on the fly, basically. I know normally my show is Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, and then reviews on Friday. Well, we're flipping it up a little bit. What up, Paul? Good to have you in the house, man. I have been going through samples. As folks on the channel know, I'm in the process of moving. At this time next week, I will be in Chicago, Illinois. And so I've been going through a whole bunch of samples tonight. I've finally got to the peated side of things. I'm finishing a Lagavulin Distillers Edition coming up next. Oh, no, I lied. This is the Lagavulin Distillers Edition. I finished an Ardbeg Black. After this, I'm going to be getting back into, some bourbon. It's a presidential draft. So that'll be good. I just got to wait for our good friend, Whiskey Throttle. Where is he hiding out at? We're going to give him a few minutes. In the meantime, How's everybody doing tonight? I hope everybody can welcome Paul. Paul is new to the Maltmeser chat, so it's great to have you in the house, Paul. I am not out of Philly. I'm still officially in Philly right now. I will be out of Philly by Friday or Saturday. It really depends. So at this time next week, the Tuesday happy hour show tomorrow will be here from Philly. That'll be the last one. And after that, I will be beaming the signal from Chicago, Illinois. So, yeah, normally I do too, man. Normally I do too. I usually miss those as well. But thankfully, for whatever reason tonight, I had a couple extra minutes and I tuned in at the right time, which was good. And that allowed me to get into hanging out in the chat with him, which was awesome. Always love hanging out with Alan. If you're not a subscriber, you should definitely sub. And yeah, he was having a good time tonight and got to share a couple drams, so that was good. Folks saying hi to Paul. Welcome him in. Congrats. Whisky Lover says, 2 a.m. here in Belgium. Yeah, I'll say. Well, I appreciate your stamina, man. Gary says I left long ago. Are you talking? You were out in San Francisco, if I'm not mistaken. So if that's the case, welcome anew to East Coast Midwest. Here. Oh, from Philly. Okay, you were from Philly. Okay. Yeah, I've been in Philly for the last 2 years. And I live in West Philadelphia, about 40th and 45th and Walnut area. You probably are familiar. Driving a McAllen. Only an hour behind you, says James Morgan. All right, right on. Good deal. So I should give you all, a little preview. Let me see if I can sneeze again. I'll give you a little preview of what's coming up tomorrow night. If you haven't seen it already, I'm going to do my last Tuesday happy hour from Philly. I got 2 really, really fun whiskeys lined up. One is the committee release of the Ardbeg Scorch. Another is the Balvenie Ton 1509 Batch 5. So I was able to scrape together a few bucks, and I, luckily found a really great deal. Was able to get my hands on something a little special, and I'm looking forward to having this with y'all tomorrow night. This is going to be a kick-ass little send-off happy hour, and then of course, Telex and I will do our Telex and Malt show. So for those new to the channel, Tuesdays, we do a happy hour here, 8 to 9 Eastern. And then from 9 until 11, I head over to my friend Telex, the Whiskey Text channel, and we do two tastings of a distillery. Tomorrow night, we're going to be doing some Japanese whiskey. And without further ado, in the house is the Whiskey Throttle. Yes, my friend. Scorch and Chocolate is coming on tomorrow night. That'll be fun.
There, now I can hear you. I don't know why it didn't use the same setup that I had. Ooh, look at that guy here, Gary K, with a nice Irish whiskey there. I think I own that same exact bottle.
Do you? Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Throttle is back in. What's going on, brother? Welcome to the After Hours.
Thank you very much for having me, buddy.
Always, man. Always. I was just chatting. Tomorrow night is my last Tuesday happy hour here from Philly, and I got 2 pretty good drams lined up to do the show with. I'm trying the new Ardbeg Scorch committee release, And then we'll be uncorking this one. I don't know what your familiarity with any of these are. This is Balvenie Ton. This is the 1509 batch 5.
Batch 5.
Yeah, batch 5. And so we're going to crack that open. It's going to be a whole thing.
I know earlier I said I don't buy many Balvenies anymore, but I do have one or two of those. I was going to tune in until I realized Daniel was in the house. Should I stick around? That's up to you, Loch Ness, you snarky little.
I mean, to each his own. It is a free country still, allegedly.
I still got to send a sample out, the Peter White. I got several I got to send out. I've been dealing with stuff. I just got a message that they won't let my sister back in the hospital, so I'm really I'm fuming right now.
Shit, man. I'm sorry to hear this.
How
far away is this from you?
What's that?
Is this far away from you?
No, I could be there in 15 minutes at the most.
Yeah.
Faster if I brought the motorcycle out. But I'm not allowed. I'm in quarantine because of close contact, right?
Sure.
Which I have no problem with, and we don't all need to be there. And the previous thing is they were happy when I finally said my sister could come in because my dad wasn't cooperating the way they'd like. Oh, Gary K is showing off. He's got a batch 2.
I have not had the batch 2. Have you had any of the Balvenie Tons, Throttle, and what are your opinions on them?
Yeah, I like them. I think they're a much better product than they normally would put out. See if I can get to what I have because I forget which one I have.
Library.
I just need to make a few moves here. Sorry, guys. This normally would be very organized, and I've been slacking on my duties. I've been so lazy and really tired. Just tired, man.
Well, you were at the dry camp. You were, Throttle was working at a camp that didn't allow alcohol for how long were you there?
Almost a month.
Yeah. I mean,
I have batch 3.
Which one is that?
Batch 3.
Batch 3. Okay.
You can still buy batch 5 on the shelves here at a few stores. But
yeah, I got this one. I got this on secondary market. I actually have not seen. I've not seen it on shelves anywhere here. The one that I did get on shelves is the batch 7, which is the one that came out last year. I have not opened it yet, but we'll definitely be doing that soon.
So these are ones that I will buy. They're single barrel.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So those single barrels are good. Now this is a little bit older. This one here, it's 47.3, right? But I have several here that are 40%, but they're old. They're old releases. They're signature releases, right? Triple barrel. Remember what I was saying? They used to do triple barrel stuff.
Yeah.
Right, and this is batch. What's that? 5. Batch 5. The lighting is terrible right now.
Sure.
So I have a collection. Actually, up here we had a girl named Beth. Beth Havers was the rep for Balvenie and Glenfiddich. And she was very nice, and I had a few questions. That's when I first delved into why is there only 40% here and 43% in the U.S.?
Yeah.
And actually, she's a sweetheart, and she sent me some samples. She sent me a bunch of Balvenie swag is what she sent me. Right? But she couldn't, I guess, maybe legally answer all the questions about why this and why that. So I was appeased with swag, like Balvenie ice stone rocks. Whoop, what happened here? Why am I by myself? Is everybody gone? $900. Am I alone?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay. All of a sudden, I was the only one.
We had a little interference. You were saying that. So the whole the thing with the Balvenie, you were saying that you were a fan of the core range, but you like the upper end stuff, or is it more?
It's not like they make a bad core range or a bad whiskey, but I don't like their manipulating things, which is just strictly for profit, right? By lowering the ABV for us versus there and so on, right? I mean, right?
Sure.
Gary K, I hope things work out for you too. Thank you very much. My dad's 94, and it's not that I'm worried about him making it through or not. I just don't want him to not make it through alone.
Yeah, that's real. That's real.
Hard, right?
As somebody, I lost my father when I was 18, so I know exactly what you mean. It's intense.
That would be rough in a different way. So
yeah, no,
it's
for real.
Rough.
That's real. What I was going to mention is that recently we've seen something pop up here in the States at a few stores, and I got my hands on a bottle. I haven't opened it yet. I will soon. It is a Balvenie Single Barrel 21, which is, normally there's the 25, there's that 20 or the 15 single barrel sherry, and then there's the 12 bourbon. This is a 21, and it's called the 21 Traditional Oak, which is more or less bourbon cask. Have you ever had a Balvenie 21 single cask or seen it before?
Not the single cask. I know a couple places that have a Balvenie 21 for sale. They're not. I know that they'll still have it because they're a small little chain of stores owned by a group of guys.
Yeah,
family group type of thing. And I know they'll still have some because nobody goes there to buy it. It's not the type of store you'd go there to expect that kind of bottle. But it actually was correct me if I'm wrong, a 21-year-old Portwood?
No, it's not the 21-year-old Portwood. This is a 21-year-old, how they don't call it single cask, they call it single barrel. It's a 21-year-old single barrel traditional oak.
Yeah.
Which is bourbon. But yeah, it's 47.3, 21 traditional oak. I picked it up 2 months ago. I have not opened it yet because I was busy with some other ones and I just didn't get around to it. And now I've slowly seen it pop up in a couple other places here in the States. And I was curious if you had seen this up your way at all.
Nope, not yet.
Have you had the 25 single barrel that they put out?
Not in my collection.
Yeah. So that one, I haven't had it either. It's ridiculously pricey, but they have a 25-year-old. I think it's like more easy to get. This 21 just popped up out of nowhere. I was literally on a website of the liquor store one day, and I'm like, the hell is this? And they actually, so the funny story, so they mailed me the 21-year-old Portwood. And I was like, and I called him and I was like, is this correct? And they're like, oh, sorry, we sent you the wrong 21. So I was like, oh, this is real. And then they ended up, I sent it back, and then they sent me a 21-year-old traditional oak single barrel Balvenie.
The last Balvenie I bought is the Peat Week, which I might have the computer sitting on top of. No, I have it sitting here somewhere.
The 14-year-old.
That's the last one I bought, and I don't know even why I bought it because it's not the original. It's the new one or something, right?
The Week of Peat, I think it's actually better. You should open that because that's a really good pour. I think the 14-year-old Week of Peat is honestly one of the better Balvenies that I've had. And I would say I've had a healthy amount.
Now, that's a different one than the Peat Week, right? The Week of Peat?
They changed the name. It was called...
Yeah, but so it's different. So
now it's called Week of Peat, but it's like, I think it's essentially the same pour.
The first one I had was in Scotland. On our way back, I'd have to look it up to remember where we were. It was a really nice old stone hotel. The owner she was there drinking with us. I think she had just recently bought this place, to tell you the truth. And she had a bottle of that in her bar, right? And when you're in these hotel bars, you're sitting with giant fires, and it was phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
And I drank that there. I probably bought 2 drams of it, right? But they didn't have any to buy. They couldn't find anywhere to buy any. All right, I brought one back. I only brought 9 bottles back from Scotland, which I should have brought more back. But
When were you there?
2018.
Oh, okay. So relatively recently. Where did you all visit?
Well, we landed in Glasgow, and Roy Duff was at the airport to meet me, he said, I don't think I'll be able to make it, something like that. But we were only at the airport for a short period. We were getting into a van that was taking us straight to the Isle of Arran. So Roy gave me 3 sample bottles, and I was glad that he was there. I opened up mine because I brought him some bottles to give him. And then, but I forgot one. I had given him a bunch of samples, which he never used yet. Anyway, he might have them. He also made sure half of the samples I brought were for him, and the other half were for Jason Whiskey Wise in London. Jason has those. So that is one thing that I will be doing either on his channel or mine. He's going to open them up. And I mean, now they're 2 years old, but they're sealed up good samples, right? And because I got some surprises in there for him, right?
Sure.
For different reasons, right? One that we'll never ever get again. It was a small distillery, and it was something that I just threw in just to throw people off. Like majorly throw them off. It's basically whiskey or spirit, but it's something totally beyond. You will like it because it's so weird, but you probably wouldn't drink much more than a tablespoon or 2.
Interesting. Okay.
So then we went straight to the Isle of Arran, which after whatever flight length. So we fly from Canada, we land in Iceland. We were on Iceland Air, which was a very nice flight, and we flew there and we landed Iceland, and that was a little less than an hour. Small airport, but man, were they organized. It was good. I was impressed. Security wasn't anal. It wasn't up your wing wang trying to probe everything. They're like, go ahead. Do you want to blow stuff up on Iceland? That's great, but you're never leaving Iceland. It will just leave you outside and you'll freeze to death. I mean, and I'm from Canada. I'm like, you guys, you're crazy. I'm sure that's what security thinks. I'm like, well, whatever. We are real Vikings. Go ahead. Anyway, so then the Isle of Arran, we were there, and of course we're wide awake, right? I mean, we've already gone through our day, but we're on a different time zone. I couldn't sleep.
And I know all about that flight. I've been to Ireland and UK a few times.
Yeah, I'm like, I haven't slept for 20 hours, but I cannot sleep.
Yeah.
And so
I went to Turkey a couple of years ago, and it was literally like a 30 hours worth of just wide awake. I wasn't going to sleep. I can't sleep on airplanes, and so
I could a little bit, but I always I think maybe the other 8 people we were traveling with thought I was a little snobbish, but I booked differently than they did, and I went online just before every flight, and I paid a small amount to have a better seat.
Sure.
Right. I sat at and a couple of times it was sweet. It was like right behind first class. I'm like, yeah, this is good enough. Right.
Yeah.
I know,
bro.
But I made one. I didn't do that on my flight from Iceland to Ireland. And it's only an hour flight, but I got the window seat. I got stuck in a window seat with a guy that makes me look skinny. and he insisted on crossing his legs. Can't remember what movie it is now. I can't remember the name, but there's a scene in it where the guy gets knocked out with an elbow. And I kept playing that over and over in my head. I'm like, you are going to have to sleep soon. Right? I mean, he knew I wasn't happy, but I don't know what it was. He couldn't sit still. And I think he might have been all of 18, but he was a big boy. And his mom was sitting in the outside row ahead of him. And I think she was worried about him, kept turning around to check on him. But I'm like, next time you turn around, he's going to have a black eye and be asleep. But I never did it. I got to watch them unload my luggage, though. And I'm like, oh, and I watched them take my black bag and throw it on the top of this cart. I knew it was mine because I had a marker on it, I'm like, guys, you know that there's a bottle in there. Like several bottles. I have to deliver them. There, and it was lot 40, first edition lot 40.
Oh, yeah.
Which I am proud. I was so happy when Roy told me when I gave him that. He must have gave a, I don't know, 5 or 6 ounce bottle sample to to Ralphie.
Oh,
Right now, Ralphie wouldn't have got a sample, but Ralphie got a sample from a bottle I brought to Scotland.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, Quig sent me a sample of the Lot 40 cask. It was the batch 3, so it was the NAS. But like I'd heard the stories of the 11 and 12-year-old, and I mean, I like the NAS enough, but man, the only one you can get here in the States is the regular, Lot 40 release, which
There's
is
nothing wrong with that.
no, it's fine. But when I heard there was a cask strength, it was like, oh shit, I got to get my hands on this. Yeah, exactly. So was that your first time in Scotland?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was and so far my only time in Scotland. But what I'd like to do. So we went to the Isle of Arran, and then we got stuck on the Isle of Arran. We went and had a tour of the, it's a small distillery in Arran, and we were staying maybe 40 minutes away from it. So a storm came in, and we couldn't leave. The ferry stopped traveling because they're crossing the ocean.
Yeah.
So we had to stay, unfortunately, one extra day, and to make up, and it wasn't their fault. They didn't have to do anything for us. We went to the distillery the next morning. Our tour guide driver was checking the ability of the, whether the ferries were coming or not, type of thing, because it changes hourly almost. And we drove to the distillery, and James McTaggart took us all out to Lag Distillery and gave us a tour while it was under construction.
Wow.
The stills were in. There were no windows up. The roof was there. Myself and one of the other guys, we both work in construction. He is an electrician, and my background, I'm a bricklayer, right? But we went out, and it was awesome for us. The others were like, okay, we're in the middle of a storm and everywhere. And we're like, yeah, this is awesome.
Where's the hotel?
We got into enough of a relaxed state that we actually could ask Mr. McTaggart questions like, what do you think of James McEwen? He's like, you mean Jimmy? I went to school with Jimmy. I think I have it audio recorded on a disc.
Yeah. Subscribe to us. He'll put that up.
What's that?
I said subscribe to Whisky Throttle's channel, because maybe one day you'll put that up.
I might put it out. I don't know how I'll do it. I wouldn't want to. I mean, it was strictly honesty in his opinion. Here's one of the best things he said. The best thing he said is, and I think he meant it off the record, because he's still got to promote whiskey, whoever he works for.
Right.
He says, but back in the day when I was a kid, when I first started working in distilleries, if somebody walked into the pub and started telling us that they were getting marzipan and cinnamon, we would have kicked his ass and thrown him out in the street. Whiskey is for drinking, not for smelling. That guy, I swear to God, if you take him off camera or where they're not, even some of the, that's why I told you the story about my first master class was with Duncan Taylor and with a guy named Peter Curry, who I believe lives in California now.
Do share.
But, well, he took away the mystic stuff that's built around the stories and the marketing, right? He's like, yeah, sure. Bruichladdich tells you that they age their whiskey in a warehouse by the ocean with the salt water and the seaweed, all that type of stuff. He's like,
it's just
sodium. But they also, what's that?
I said it's just sodium buildup.
Yeah, but they also don't tell you that it's down by the train yard that was over in mainland Scotland next to a diesel motor. They don't tell you that part.
Yeah, I mean, who wants to drink that?
Well, that was part of what, Duncan Taylor, independent bottler, and this bottle, I don't know if you were there when I showed it. There were 7 or 8 samples for us in his tasting, and they were all fairly dark, and this one was in the middle. and he had us go kind of past it, but look how clear that is. And this is from what they call their NC2, non-chill filtered, non-colored.
There you go.
Release. I don't even know if they release this anymore, but I think this was to show that coloring and chilling is not necessary, and the darkness is not. It's just there to make us buy it.
Well,
right?
yeah, that's the whole color, chill E150A thing and whatever. But I mean, that's an interesting anecdote. I mean, like it's I get it. And I respect it. But at the same time, there's like part of this thing where, and it's a slow build. And Throttle, I mean, I think you'll probably agree with me on this, maybe. But like to develop a palate and to develop a whiskey, I mean, smell for that matter, be able to nose a whiskey properly. Like it isn't just about a technique that you learn on the internet. It's about experience. Like
sure, that's why you can
a couple hundred goddamn whiskeys before you're like, oh yeah, that's marzipan. And the reason I say it's marzipan is because that's coming through in a specific way that wasn't coming through that way before in 90.
You mean it's not just almonds.
Right. Exactly. And like the challenge is always that like I feel like there's a disconnect between when you sip a whiskey that is of stellar premium quality, whether it's age or casks or whatever, but you can't always like the minute you translate it into words, it dilutes it. You know what I mean? It's a very personal experience in certain ways.
I like that way of putting it. Yeah. You got a couple people saying goodnight here, or at least one, Whiskey Lovers Society.
Yeah, have a good night, Whiskey Lovers Society, man. Thank you for stopping in. Smash the thumbs up. I don't know if you're subscribed, but would love to have you as a sub. Great to have you in the chat. Appreciate it, man. Have a good night.
And Jason Coates, yeah, he's got that good point too, right? He says, yeah, it's just for drinking, not smelling, and that's why we spend so much money on sherry cask. You know what? There is valid things that we don't all see in these.
Well, yeah, I mean, and like the thing is like you don't smell things until you know how to smell them. You know what I mean? Like there's something. I agree with the general sentiment that like you can be like overly descriptive to a fault, right? Because the magic of whiskey is not about like isolating certain notes and how they come together.
Look, man, this is just for fun, right? Come on. FMW, you ever read their notes? I mean, they're great. And here's one of the things I think they're great is you really have to think. Like sometimes you're reading through here, guys at the outturns will be like, "What in the hell is that? Like what is that note they're talking about, right?"
Right.
And if you've never tried it, you never know what was in there.
Right,
so it does expand. It'll start to expand your vocabulary first, and you'll see people Googling what is some fruit they've never heard of type of thing, right? But yes, this is to the extreme by a specific group of people. Thermonuclear bananas. They don't even know what that is, but it's obviously really banana when you drink it, right?
No, yeah, I agree. I mean, I just think that like as you go through your journey, you tend to like notice basic, and from there you're picking up nuance. Like you have 100 whiskeys in your life, you can tell like, oh yeah, I'm getting that kind of clay concrete thing, like it's a younger whiskey. Like you start putting the pieces together, but the ultimate like experience of it all is not how you are able to define and dissect the flavors that you pick up. It is about the euphoria of moments, right? It's about things that are outside of like description. It's about like, I had this glass of Ben Nevis 10 when I was sitting outside with the girl of my dreams at 24 years old on a beach in Portugal, and it like, you know what I mean? Or like I had a glass of Ukadal and I was eating this flank steak, and the way that it all harmonized was like, like that's what it's about, you know.
But now you're getting into stuff like aphrodisiacs, right? And which ones are scientifically proven to release a chemical like chocolate, or which ones are just thought to because they look like somebody's genitalia? You know what I mean?
I wouldn't even go that far. I wouldn't even say I'm going that far. What I would say I'm saying is that like the ability to be in a moment truly in life.
Yeah.
When you have a glass of whiskey that complements that, defines the whiskey much more than like any anecdotal like notes that you get or whatever. Like it harmonizes with life. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I think is so amazing. And I've had maybe 4 of those moments.
And that's harder to do even now.
Oh,
totally. As
you go further in the journey, like you know, I Throttle, and I think you'll appreciate this. You know, I was chatting with this guy. He's over in India. He's a subscriber of the channel, and you know, he was looking.
He's a subscriber to my channel now.
He should be.
I just got another subscriber in it.
For the first time, he stumbled upon a bottle of Lagavulin 16. Right, you and I would probably be like, yeah, Lagavulin 16 is great, but like, when you think back to the first time you had Lagavulin 16, I was like, yeah, bro, like you need to buy that, because that moment, the euphoria of that moment, when it levels you up, you know, when you're like, holy shit. Like, I didn't want to take that away from him. And so I literally was like, you know what, man, buy that whiskey, like have that moment. Yeah. Because as you get into the journey further, and I don't know, Throttle, if you're going to agree with me on this or not, you know, I mean, you have a much more extensive whiskey or collection of like, I mean, honestly, I'll be real. Like you have a lot of very great whiskey behind you that I've certainly never had. But I wonder if, based on what I've said, like you find increasingly like more difficult to have those moments, like the moment that you first had.
It almost, when you start getting to doing the silliness behind me here, is you feel forced to find that moment. And so once upon a time, especially when I first started out, I had a notebook with me all the time, every time I went to a tasting. And then I tried doing it. I felt like I was being rude, and I felt like I was missing something because I was just writing down the last notes. I'm like, oh, but then a conversation with a couple guys, especially ones that work in the industry, is just be in the moment. And I'll go back to Eric Waite. He did a video way back, a few years back, where it was just, he went through the nuances of having a glass and using it to get notes. But then at the end of the video, he just sat down with a tumbler, you know, and there's a point where you just want to be with the whiskey and stop analyzing it. And that's not just to do with whiskey. That should be with anything. Like at some point, we overwhelm ourselves with stuff. And I mean, the world has been developed into such a manner where it's constant bombardment from our computers and our cell phones and this and that. How can you be in the moment just with a whiskey, let alone your family or yourself? Right. So, I mean, I might sound like a philosopher, but hey, bourbon just came in.
You're not, I mean, you're hitting the nail on the head, man. I'm, you know, I don't share a lot of personal information about myself on my stuff. I try to like, you know, do what I can. I mean, I'm a little personal, but like I'm a big meditator, and like I got into meditation practice for over a year, and meditation practice is a very humble thing, and it teaches you all about trying to be in the present moment and recognizing thought is thought. And I've recognized that, like, for me personally, through my practice, like my experience with whiskey has transformed. It's not just like I'm hyper analyzing things. Like I don't review shit until I know when I'm ready to. like, there's always that, you know, in the whiskey tube world, there's a pushed to like, oh God, I got this bottle before anybody else. Like, I got to put a review up because I'm going to get a whole bunch of views. And it's like,
No, you're okay. Your approach is okay. The other guys, well, I got a special word for them. It starts with a J. It's not even a real word. It was a word. Well, everyone thinks it's an Italian word, but it isn't Italian. Hey, Alan, what are you in bed now? I hope you got your underwear on because that was
whiskey friend. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, man. It's like I like for me, and again, it's personal. I'm not advocating. I'm not saying anybody should do anything. I'm an atheist, but like I meditate, and my meditation practice helps me to enjoy whiskey in a way that I necessarily wasn't sure I was before.
Sorry, I'm reading your comments, but yeah. So you and I we're opposites in this, but I have nothing against types of meditation, right?
Sure.
I mean, I've been around people that were way more into it than you are, and they were.
That's true. I do 20 minutes a day. That's my 20 minutes. Yeah.
But deep thought is a form of meditation, right? And you can't really do it with a bunch of distractions. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
But these other ones, I'm not and you might be able to apply this to whiskey. Anybody that's into like the transcendental stuff where you're like emptying your mind completely. I'm like, yeah, an empty mind is also opened up for a bunch of garbage too. Right?
Yeah.
So I don't think I'd ever empty my mind completely.
Yeah, I agree. And like insofar as that applies to meditation, like the misconception about meditation is this idea of like you clear your mind of any thoughts and therefore you've achieved something. And that's actually erroneous. The purpose of meditation is to recognize thoughts as just thoughts and consciousness, not as defining things about your existence. And when you recognize that your mind is literally just a stream of like thoughts that you can either apply or not apply value to and weightness, you reach a point of like a little bit more harmony. I mean, that's just been my experience. This is not a religious thing or anything, but like there's a misconception which is the reason I want to point out that the idea is like meditation gets you to some clear moment where you're like devoid of any thought. No, thought is always happening because you have no control over your thoughts. Like you don't control what you're thinking right now, at this moment. You have no control what your brain is doing. But what you do have control over is whether or not it has impact on you. And meditation is a humble practice in that sense.
I'll give you an example. What you're saying is I don't 100% agree with. My brain, I control my brain, but we do have thoughts that pop in out of nowhere. And here's how I look at a thought. It's like a bird. A thought is like a bird landing on your head. You can have that thought. Maybe it's a bad thought. Maybe it's not a good thought. Maybe it's influenced because you accidentally saw a sign. Like we're into whiskey. What if you're a recovering alcoholic?
Right.
And you see something that makes you want to drink. And you can leave that thought in your head and start festering about it until you fall off the wagon, so to speak.
Sure.
But the thought, like a bird, lands on your head. But I have control not to let the bird stay there and build a nest.
Well, I agree. But my point, I agree with you. But my point is more like, what is I? Like I implies that you have any control over that thought, and you don't. The thought shows up whether you want it to or not. Your reaction to it is what you have control over. And that's what I mean by I. So like I want to clear that up. When I say your mind is a stream of consciousness popping thoughts up that you have no control over, that's what I mean. Is that like you can't control how many birds land on your shoulder. What you can control is how much effect they have on you. And that's what meditation teaches.
Jason Coates is giving you and me. He just threw something at you. Try just now. No, I'll wait. It's too many comments popping in here. Now try purposefully not thinking about a fire truck. Okay,
well,
I'm not.
he's exactly right. By
Yes.
the negation argument, don't think of an elephant. You just
Yes.
thought of an elephant, right? Exactly. Yeah.
Don't think of it. You thought of
Yeah,
it.
the point is that you recognize thought as an independent thing. It's just
Now
straight
let's bring this back to whiskey tastings.
Yeah.
My most disliked, we were asked this one time in a tasting, is what is your most disliked tasting note? And my answer was marzipan. I don't have anything against almonds, and I don't have anything against marzipan, but I think it's just one of those ones that everybody thinks they get because that's what they've read on the back of a freaking package or in a Jim Murray book, right?
Yeah.
So now we're at that point where don't think about a fire truck or an elephant,
Right.
But don't think, you're like, okay, you just be honest. And if you don't get anything, like some people, most times, like, no, I get whiskey. Well, now here, I just poured the Kubakan,
Donnie Darko.
and I'm not getting, they on the, now let me read what they have written on here. Light smoke intertwined with rich citrus and exotic spices.
I mean, like, can you be more vague?
I do get smoke on this, but it's not like for you. If I told you this was a smoky peaty whiskey, you'd be like, it is not. I mean, have you ever tried Lagavulin? This is not peat. Yeah, it's not. You're right. It's not. It's not.
I got some lag here, bro. You don't know nothing.
Yeah, this isn't. You don't know nothing. Now the difference is that there is something in here.
Yeah.
I don't think it's peat. I think it's smoke. Is there a difference between peat and smoke?
Yes.
Right?
There's a huge difference. If you've ever had an Aaron Mockramore, you will know that. Yeah.
See, Peter White, I don't know what marzipan would smell. Go to the bakery and ask them for a wedding cake. Can I have some fondant?
I mean, I'm with you on that. My least favorite flavor is grapefruit, and I get that much more in like IPA beers, but like grapefruit or like a tangy sourness.
I don't think I've ever gotten grapefruit in anything.
I've have
what I would describe as fruit, but again, that's when somebody will say it's like what do they call it now? I even ate some just not too long ago. The jelly candy, not jelly beans, but gummies, like a gummy, but a real fruit gummy, right?
Oh, real fruit, okay.
Like a gummy, not a gummy bear, not that, but something that was trying to be more a healthy gummy, in a sense, right? And I mean, they're just soft, spongy, but it was all fruit flavored ones. They had 2 or different packages, and that's where I get more. But again, I've never delved into that stuff. Like a guy like Eric Waite, who really wanted to get into wines, and now I used to dislike sommeliers until I met Eric, and I think it's Eric adjusted for the whiskey world a bit in a polite way. Mm-hmm. Whereas I've met some like, well, I'm a second level sommelier. And I'm like, yeah, you're going to see if you can breathe anything while you're bleeding out your nose. I want you to smell that.
Right. Exactly.
Like you're turning this into a snobbery. And I mean, around certain circles, you or I are whiskey snobs.
Well, yeah, I don't think there's any way to escape that. I mean, I think that like anybody who spends enough time with anything, whether it's whiskey or food or gardening or whatever, like inherently you become somebody who is more attuned to best practices, who is more attuned to like experience, right? It's experience points. It's like a role-playing video game. Like you develop enough experience points and you kind of can tell certain things. Like you and I can tell if there's probably a whiskey that we're tasting that has more younger stuff in it than not, or hey, this sherry's fresher than it is oxidized. I mean, like those are normal things that inherently are part of any journey. But the trick is like, how do you present that to somebody, right? And I think that like, I don't know who you were referring to, but there are some who cater their, or who under false pretenses try and convince you that like, yeah, that's shit. This is good. Like,
I wasn't referring to anybody. There's people like that everywhere. And I mean, then we have to take into our consideration that we get upset about, not upset maybe, but it hurts us almost. I mean, in a sense, when somebody doesn't appreciate something, like when you show something new, right? Now, there's two different ways. So let's say I'm a fan of a certain music group or band or person, right? And then I meet somebody that's a fanatic about it. I'm like, yeah, I really like these guys. And they come on the radio and that fanatic cranks the volume up. There's something in me somewhat where I'm like, all right, I don't like these guys anymore. Right? I liked them before they were popular. I know that's where right? But and we have some good comments coming in here, right? About this subject. So
yeah, let me catch up. I apologize. I'm a little bit behind.
The only one I'm gonna interrupt is the whiskey friend is like a kettle. Call him a pot black there, buddy.
Oh, he should be in bed. We're here because whiskey friend had to go to sleep. Bourbon Bounty. What's up, Bourbon Bounty? Northern Carolina. Good to see you in the house. If you are a bourbon fan of any variety, take a second and subscribe to Bourbon Bounty. He is the man. He does great bourbon reviews. We've done a couple joint shows ourselves. It's always great to have you in the house, man. He says, I only meditate when I drink too much. Real talk. I feel you, man. I feel you. All right. Anyways, yeah. So Throttle. I'm going to stay on for about 10 more minutes because I do have to get myself some dinner.
What's dinner got to do with it?
I got 5 more days here in Philly. I'm trying to check every box of the places I want to eat before I move to Chicago, and I got to make sure I take advantage.
Yeah, I don't blame anybody.
Before I leave, Throttle, you're a fucking legend in the YouTube whiskey world. What are your top 3 distilleries?
What are my top 3?
Your 3 favorite. Desert Island, whatever you want to say. These are the 3 distilleries in which I would pull my whiskey from.
You know what? I hate that question, to tell you the honest truth. But
I don't know.
Obviously, I'm a fan of Tomatin. It's just because I think one is the person that was a rep for them when I first learned about them out here. She's not like other people. And they changed to a bigger marketing company, which was to their loss because sales went down when she stopped promoting them. But she was genuine about the product, and she's also really good friends with a gentleman that he passed away. He slipped and fell a year and a half ago.
Boy.
And got up. He was okay. Went to bed and never woke up. But he's one of those guys that you'd love him. You'd love him. And so he was working for himself primarily, and a lot of the stuff that he promoted, which were independent bottlers. So it's hard when I say, like, I like this independent company, like the SMWS, because it covers more than one distillery, right? But if you're asking about distilleries, I like Glenrothes because it's funky and weird, and I think that they're all different. They really move around, I think, differently. Maybe it's because they've gone up and down with the different kind of owners they've had and so forth.
Right. Yeah.
What else? I mean, I like Elijah Craig.
Oh yeah.
And this is my go-to bourbon. Oh, and guess what? When they said it was gone, this one here, I'm like, oh, there's another bottle. There's another bottle. There's another bottle. So
you can't go wrong with it. You can't go wrong with it.
It's to me, if we put the analogy of cars, this is the Mustang of Bourbon.
100%.
For a 12-year-old at that time,
100%.
you were
100%.
Yeah,
no.
I could buy an $80,000 or $100,000 Corvette, or I could have bought a $40,000 Mustang. Guess what? I'm going to have just as much fun in that Mustang Yeah, sure, this might pass it and beat it, but if I'm just going out to drive, I'm going to have just as much fun.
You hit the nail on the head.
I
Absolutely.
mean, you could get a Blanton's Gold, and you could go nuts with it, but
Yeah, dude, Blend. It's not even a question.
Well, it's good whiskey, but
I know exactly what you're saying. 100% agree.
I like a lot of these. I like Brook Laddie. I guess that would be one of them for sure. I'm not sure if I'm a big fan of them now as much as I was, right? But not a Shelby GT50, no GT500. No, you're right, Peter. I have a Heaven's Hill bourbon barrel sitting out on my patio right now.
Ooh.
Brand new virgin. It came with probably. I bet you I could have filled up half a bottle with the liquid that was in it. So now I've let that liquid has soaked right in and evaporated. But
how old was the whiskey? Do you know?
I don't know. I took pictures of it before the sun faded everything on it. And I've had some bourbon people down in the States trying to find out for me what it could have been anything, right?
Yeah, Jesus. Fuck. That's amazing.
Yes, whiskey friend. I like it because it's different. That is why I like it, yes.
Hey, Beth Higgins is in the house. What's up, Beth?
Ardbeg, Buffalo Trace, and Glenronic. There you go. I love Glenronic. I also like Ben Romick. Oh, here's another one. Is Ben Romick, not Ben Wright, Ben Romick.
Yeah.
I think that none of you talk about it enough.
I would, Ben Romick.
It's understated.
It is way understated.
Yeah.
Ben
Romick. I mean, this is one of the newer releases.
Yeah, Ben Romick is way on my list too.
I'll tell you what. When I'm getting
Ben Romick, Grunehaven, and probably either Glenallachie or Lafroy.
I have a partial bottle of this. This is Ben Romick.
Oh shit!
Single malt, cask strength. 2001. It's only 10 years old. First fill bourbon. It's from 7 different casks. Unfiltered natural color, 60%.
Yeah, that's.
We'll talk like you asked. We'll talk like you asked earlier. Give me your new address, and I'll. Plus, I gotta send Peter White some stuff because I said I would.
Yeah, I'll definitely send you the new address. If folks, if you haven't subscribed yet, would love, feel free to hit subscribe to Mommy's Whiskey Reviews. Give us a thumbs up. That's all good. You subscribe over to Whiskey Throttle, who may or may not, depending on the kind of people who subscribe, start doing live shows again.
I like doing lives. Aquavitae. Oftentimes I get kick myself in the ass because I didn't follow along.
Yeah,
I was already starting to do stuff more or less like that anyway. But he said give him a sub.
Give him a sub. You might wake up one day with a pleasant surprise of a Daniel the Whiskey Throttle live stream or review or something sitting in your inbox.
Thanks, guys. I will.
With that, I am going to sign off for the rest of the evening, and do keep in mind about 24 hours from now, it will be my last Tuesday happy hour from Philadelphia. I'll be doing Balvenie Ton. I'll be doing Ardbeg Scorch. It should be a lot of fun. Hope to see you all there. And until then, stay safe, be well. Throttle, thanks for stopping in.
Thank you very much, buddy. It's been a blast. You and the Whiskey Friend for getting it all started.
Yeah, thank you to Alan the Whiskey Friend for the long, protracted live stream tonight. We appreciate it, man. Much love to you. Everybody stay safe, be well. Catch you later.
Cheers, everybody.